Guys, please confirm to me. All of you get my voice and screen. Those are attending in online. Am I audible? Guys, please confirm to me. All of you get my voice and screen. Those are attending in online. Am I audible? All of you get my voice and screen. Guys, please confirm to me. Everybody, please confirm to me. All of you get my voice and screen. Those are attending in online. All right, sir. All right, I think we are understanding about exception and exception handling related content we are understanding there. Now observe carefully. So first of all here we need to understand what is an exception. What is the meaning of this exception here? Exception is a runtime error. A simple definition I have given there. Runtime error that causes abnormal terminations to the applications. In a Java applications, exceptions may provide the following serious problems: OS crashing, network hanging, database collapse, server down. This kind of problems here we are able to get. So to overcome these problems there, we have to handle exceptions properly. To handle these exceptions, how many ways are available? There are two ways. What are the two ways of handling these exceptions now? By using what there? Throws, and second one is what there? By using try, catch, finally. Right. Observe carefully. Throws keyword. What is the main purpose of the throws keyword? The main purpose of the throws keyword is to bypass the generated exception from the present method to the caller method in order to handle the exception. Just at present, we are having an exception in a method that I want to bypass to the caller of this particular method. So for what purpose we are bypassing that exception to the caller? In order to handle that exception at the caller side here. For the purpose only we are bypassing that exception. Okay, fine. This is the purpose of throws keyword. In general, we will use throws keyword in the method prototype, not inside the method body. Understand my point now? In general, throws keyword will be used inside the method prototype. That means in the method declarative part only, not inside the method body. Throw keyword will be used inside the method body. And one more point here I'm telling to you. Now we can understand this point also. We can understand this clearly. In general, in Java applications, throws keyword will be used for the checked exceptions. In general, throws keyword will be used for what purpose there? No, checked exceptions. To handle the checked exceptions. In general, for checked exceptions, we are going to use what there? Throws keyword. Okay, fine. Observe carefully here. In general, we will use the throws keyword for handling the checked exceptions. Handling checked exception in the sense like what there, bypassing that checked exception to what there, caller. At a caller side, that exception is going to be handled. Okay, leave this one. Now I'm giving one more point. Try to understand it clearly. Try catch finally. Next one. Try catch finally. All right. Again, we are getting. Now we are able to get a question. To handle the exceptions, we have already throws keyword. To handle the exceptions, already we have throws keyword. Then what's the requirement to come for try catch finally? This is a question. I get my point clearly. To handle the exceptions, already we have throws keyword. Then what's the requirement to go for try catch finally? Right. I'm giving answers to you. Try to understand it clearly. In Java applications, listen carefully. In Java applications, throws keyword is not really an exception handler. Is not really an exception handler. It will bypass exception to some other method, to the caller method. caller method in order to handle at a caller method. What's the meaning of it? No. In the present method, if you have any exception, throws keyword is not handling here inside the present method. It will bypass that exception to the caller method to handle. What's the meaning of it? No. Throws keyword is not handling that exception or not. In the present method, that exception is not handling or not. But where it is going to be handled there? In the caller method, it is going to handle. In the caller method, it is going to handle. Yes, sir. All of you get my point or not? All right, sir. Good. So now the point is what there, but in Java applications, if you want to handle the exception, if you want to handle the exceptions, the location where it was generated, in Java applications, if you want to handle the exceptions, the location, if you want to handle the exceptions at the location where it was generated, then there we have to use, try catch finally. All right, sir. What is the need of using this try catch finally? The location where exceptions are generated, if you want to handle it there itself, in the same location, if you want to handle that exception, there we have to use what there? Try catch finally. What is the meaning of handling the exception? No. Simple point. Exceptions are providing abnormal termination. The moment when exception is raised, there itself program will be terminated. This is the meaning of what there? Exception. But what is the meaning of this handling actually? If we are getting any exception, catch that situation. Don't provide abnormal termination, immediate termination. Catch that exception. Display message to the user. Because of this reason, we got some problem. Then terminate the program at the end of the program. Continue the remaining part of the execution and terminate the program at the end. This is nothing but what? Smooth termination. I get my point or not? Whenever we are getting an exception, what we have to do when we are getting an exception, immediately catch that situation, display message to the user, and skip up to that line of code, then continue the remaining part of the execution, terminate the program at the end of the program. Now this is what their smooth termination. Yes, I got or not? But really we got an exception, but we are making that abnormal termination to the smooth termination or not? For that particular reason, we have to go for what their exception handling. For example, in the ATM application, in your account you are having only 10,000. In your account you are having only 10,000. But if you are trying to withdraw 20,000, got it or not? If you are trying to withdraw 20,000, but in our account how much amount is available? 10,000. If the bank is not handling that situation, what is going to be happen? That ATM machine is going to be blast or not? Yes, sir. Because of our frequent transaction, continued transaction, it's going to be blast or not? Right, sir. Now to avoid that situation, what bank people have do there, what they have done there, when you are trying to withdraw 20,000 over the 10,000 amount on your account, the bank software will catch it, will display message to you. What is that message there? It's okay, it's enough, no? Your trials are okay, I understood that. Don't do overaction, no? Stop this type of trials. Okay, then immediately your transaction is failed. Then program is executed successfully. That means program is terminated successfully. Got it or not? If it is an abnormal termination, what is going to be happen there? The moment when we enter 20,000 over the 10,000, immediately that software must be struck. But it was not struck. Am I right or not? The software is ready for next transaction or not? What is the meaning of it? No, there we are getting what there? Smooth termination. Because of the smooth termination only, the software is ready for what there? Next transaction. Got it or not? Okay, whatever it may be, exceptions are providing abnormal terminations. Exception handling is providing what there? Smooth termination. Here the meaning of handling is what there? The meaning of handling is what there? Even if you are getting an exception, immediately catch that situation, convey this message to the user and provide what there? Smooth termination by continuing the remaining part execution. Say for example, if we go to the theater where we are watching a movie, unfortunately power failure was happened. When power failure was happened, if we are not handling that situation there, what happened there? No, that movie was stopped or not? All the customers are not good at about that theater or not? They may come outside of the theater, they may go for some disturbance or not? Answer my point here. But the theater management has to handle that situation properly. How they are going to handle that situation properly? When the power failure is coming, immediately power backup system must be on. That inverter systems must be on. In the fraction of seconds, that inverters must provide, that the generators must provide power supply to the theater. That movie must not be interpreted. That movie must be on. That movie must is going to be, the movie is going to be continue. Got my point or not? So in that way, we need to provide the handling mechanisms. If you want to handle in that way that exceptions, if you want to handle that in that way that exceptions, there we have to use what there, try, catch, finally. Simple. What is the point I'm telling there? Throws keyword is not the real exception handler in Java. Simply it is bypassing exception to somebody else to handle it. But if you want to handle the exceptions in Java, the location where it was generated, there we have to use what there, try, catch, finally. Right. Now let's move to the punch. What is the syntax of this try, catch, finally? Syntax of this try, catch, finally is what? Try. Inside this try, a set of instructions here we are going to write. A set of instructions. Next one is like what there, catch. Inside this catch here we have to write like what there, exception name and reference variable. Now here what we are able to provide here also be a set of instructions here we are going to write. After this here we are going to write what there, finally block. Here also we are going to write what there, a set of instructions. This is exactly the syntax of what there, try, catch, finally. Observe carefully, try, catch, finally. Overall, how many blocks are available here? 3 blocks are available. Try block, catch block, and a finally block. Now, I want to understand what is the purpose of this try block and what is the purpose of catch block and what is the purpose of finally block. That each and every one here we have to understand. All of you have to carefully. So what is this first one, try block? What is the meaning of this try block? What it is able to have? Try block, what is its requirement? Observe carefully. I'm going to write a program. In that program, I have nearly 100 lines of code. I want to implement exception handling in that 100 lines of code. So what I have to do? I want to use try catch finally. I want to handle the exceptions over these 100 lines of code. So what I have to do? In general, we are thinking we have to keep all 100 lines of code inside the try block. In general, we are going to write all 100 lines of code inside what there, try block. Then try block will handle that exceptions if you are getting any exception in that 100 lines of code. This is not the way. What you are thinking, no, this is not the way. You should not keep all 100 lines of code inside the try block. You are not going to keep 100 lines of code inside the try block. Okay, entire program is not required to keep inside the try block. Okay, but which code we are going to keep inside the try block? What lines of code we are going to keep inside the try block? If you observe these points, I'm giving clarity for you. Try to understand it now. You are the developer. You are writing that code. Am I right or not? You are the developer. You are writing that code. In your code, you have a doubt on a particular line of code. We have doubt on the set of instructions. Maybe chances are available to get an exception. You have a doubt. Yes, sir. All of you get my point or not? As you are writing the code, out of 100 lines of code, 3 to 4 lines of code, I'm doubtful to get an exception. 3 to 4 lines of code only, not all 100 lines of code. Over these 100 lines of code, 3 to 4 lines of code, I'm doubtful to get an exception. That the 3 to 4 lines of code is called as doubtful code. In our entire program, the doubtful code only we are going to keep inside the try block. Inside the try block, we are going to keep what there, doubtful code. Again, I'm telling that it's a doubt only, not confirmed it. It's a doubt only. I have a doubt on it. The 3 lines of code. Maybe chances are available to get an exception from these 3 lines of code. That the 3 lines of code only I'm going to keep inside the try block. Yeah, it may be 3 lines or 4 lines or 10 lines. That doesn't matter. Which lines of code you are doubtful to get an exception? That a doubtful code we are going to keep inside the try block. At the same time, one more point I'm telling there. Once we are keeping a set of instructions inside the try block, then there is no guarantee to get an exception from the set of instructions. Exceptions may come, may not come from the lines of code which you are keeping inside the try block. Altogether, what is the point I'm telling there? Try block is not giving any guarantee to raise an exception. Inside the try block, you may have an exception, you may not have an exception. Maybe exceptions will come or may not be. Exception will not come. Understand my point clearly? But we are going to keep the doubtful code inside the try block. Yes, sir. Got it or not? Then you may ask one more question to me. Sir, how I can identify the doubtful code? Yeah, that is depending on your talent. You're the developer. You're writing that code. Definitely you have to sense for it. We have to sense it. Okay, these intersections may arise an exception. That we need to get clarity. Basically, you are the developer. Yes, sir. Got my point or not? So you need to understand it. Where we are able to get an exception. That awareness you should have as you are the Java developer. That intersections only we are going to keep inside what the try block. The try block may rise, may not rise the exception. There is no guarantee to get an exception from the try block. If exception is raised, one type of flow of execution. If exception is not raised, another type of flow of execution. Yes, sir. All of you are getting my point or not? Finally, now tell me what try block is going to include. Come on, it will include a set of instructions. A set of instructions. It will include a set of instructions which may raise an exception. Which may rise an exception. Even I am not telling you which may rise a number of exceptions, which may rise an exception. Why? Because at a time only one exception we are able to get. In the entire Java program, at a time how many exceptions we are able to get? No, only one exception here we are able to get. We are not going to get more than one exception. Now tell me, it will include a set of instructions which may rise an exception, That's it. Next, one more point I am telling to you. In general, try block will include doubtful code. Try block will include doubtful code to get an exception, to raise an exception. Try block will include developers doubtful code. Developers doubtful code to raise an exception. Yes, sir. All of you are getting the intention what I am telling to you. All of you are understanding the context what I am telling to you now. Every instruction is not required to keep inside the try block. Only doubtful code only we are going to keep inside what there try block here. All right. Next one is what there in Java applications. Yeah, doubtful code double equals to risky code. Risky code. If you're saying that risky code, you're Durgasoft student. I know that. Okay, fine. Good. Yeah, doubtful code, risky code, all these are okay. Their own terminology. Sun Microsystems has not given exact word like risky code or exact word like what the doubtful code. Context here we have to understand. Okay, right. Let's move on to the point here. Yeah, this is a big problem for every Java trainer in Amirpet. Students are already prepared with Durgasoft videos now. With that knowledge, they are coming to the classes. They are putting Durgasoft terminology inside the classes now. First of all, remember it. Myself is brother of Durgasoft, right? Myself is a brother to Durgasoft, but I didn't follow his terminology. There is a problem here now. Right. Anyway, understand it clearly. Yes, sir. I learned Python full stack from Durgasoft in 2021. But why you are attending Java class now? No? Right. After 2 years, you have to say the same point. I learned Java from Nagoor Babu, sir. Right? Very nice. Good. More to the point here. In Java applications, in a try catch finally, in Java applications, in a try catch finally, try block may or may not raise an exception. In a try block may or may not raise an exception. Got it? What I'm telling to you. If we have an exception, listen carefully. If we have an exception in a try block, then JVM will bypass flow of execution. JVM will bypass flow of execution to the catch block. Flow of execution to what block here? Catch block, by bypassing the generated exception object. By bypassing the generated exception object reference as a parameter to catch block. Please all of you read this statement. I will show in a diagrammatic manner, no need to worry for it, But meanwhile, understand the point what I'm trying to say now. In Java applications, try catch finally. In try catch finally, try block may or may not rise an exception. Understand this point here. Okay, now in the separate line here, I want to provide this. If we have an exception in try block, then the JVM will bypass flow of execution to the catch block by bypassing the generated exception object reference as a parameter to the catch block. By passing, that's simple, that's sufficient here, by passing the generated exception object reference as parameter to the catch block. Okay, flow of execution will come to what block there? Catch block directly. Let me complete this point here. I will show a diagram now. For example, if no exception is available, or if no exception is raised, in the try block, then JVM, if no exception is raised in the try block, then JVM will skip the catch block execution, and JVM will bypass. Yes, sir, all of you get my point now. JVM will skip the catch block execution, and JVM will bypass flow of execution to the finally block, from the end of try block, Yeah, I need to give one more point clarity. Now try to observe carefully. If no exception is raised in the try block, then JVM will skip the catch block execution, and JVM will bypass flow of execution to the final block from the end of the try block. That bypassing is going on at the end of the try block only. The total try block will be executed. At the end of the try block, flow of execution will come to what block there? Finally block. By skipping which block now? Catch block. Okay, now here one more point I'm adding to you. Try to observe carefully. If you have an exception in try block, then JVM will bypass flow of execution to the catch block by passing the generated exception object reference as parameter to the catch block by skipping, observe carefully, by skipping all the remaining instructions inside the try block. Yeah, how much you want to understand, you can understand, but I will show in the diagram. Come again, what is the point I said to you? If you have an exception in the try block, then JVM will bypass flow of execution of the catch block by passing the generated exception object reference as parameter to catch block by skipping. What is that one? Last point is what there? By skipping remaining instructions, execution inside the try block. Okay, now let's move on to the diagram here. Observe carefully. Everybody put more concentration. Right, sir. For example, try. Here we are having number of instructions. Okay, now here I am telling now, in this case we have an exception. In this case we are having some exception. Now this is like what? Catch block. Exception name, something else exceptional here I've used there, exception name. Now here we are having another set of instructions. After this, finally block. Put more concentration, all of you know. Without using throws keyword or try catch finally, I will not complete my JDBC program. In every JDBC program, I must use this a throws keyword, or I have to go with what the try catch finally. Without these two, it is not possible to complete my program. Right, sir. This is the total code what I have given. This is my Java program. Similarly, I'm going to write the program here also. Same Java program, but in this case, I'm not going to have any exception inside the try block. Before the try, we may have a number of instructions. I said to you already, 100 lines of code is available in my program. 50th line to 55th line is a doubtful code for me. I'm going to keep try block for only 50th line to 55th line. That's it. Before 50th line, 49 instructions are available without try block. After the 55th line, again remaining 45 lines of code are available without having any try block. Understand my point? What I'm telling there? I'm doubtful about only 5 lines of code. That 5 lines of code only I'm going to keep it. Means that before try block, we are able to have a set of instructions. Remember it clearly. Inside the try block, we have instructions, but we have an exception. Then after that, after exception also some lines of code is available. In catch block, I have written something. In finally block, I have written something. After finally also a set of instructions are available. Now, what is going to be happen? Observe carefully. First of all, we are executing this code. First, before try block, that code will be executed anyway. Leave it. It's going on. Now, JVM is entering inside like what there try block. When it entered inside the try block, then it encounter what there exception. For example, 100 divided by 0. What exception I got there? 100 divided by 0. There what happened internally? Arithmetic exception will be raised. What exception is raised there? Arithmetic exception is raised internally. What happened internally? Observe carefully. Exception object will be created for arithmetic exception. Whenever exception object is created, automatically reference value will be created or not? Automatically reference value will be created or not? Okay, observe carefully. When we have an exception here in this particular line, whenever we are getting an exception in this particular line, from this particular point onwards, flow of execution will come to what block here? Catch block, by skipping the remaining instructions in the try block. That's the point I specified there previously. The location when we are getting, where we are getting an exception, from that location, flow of execution will come to what block here? Catch block, by skipping remaining instructions inside the try block. Fine. Now this catch block is going to be executed. At the time of bypassing this flow of execution to the catch block directly, here exception object reference value is created or not? That exception reference is also be passed as a parameter to the catch block. Exception object reference value is also be passed as a parameter to the catch block, where E variable is acting as a reference variable for the generated exception. E variable is acting as what there? A reference variable for the generated exception. Now exactly in this line we are getting an exception. This is an exception object. It may be arithmetic exception, it may be null pointer exception, it may be array index out of bounds exception, whatever it may be. Exception is raised in the sense internally exception object is created. When flow of execution is coming to the catch block, along with the flow of execution, exception reference value will be passed as parameter to the catch block. Inside the catch block, E reference variable is able to manage reference value of the generated exception object. Got it or not? All right. Okay. Total catch block will be executed. After executing catch block, next total finally block will be executed. After executing finally block, the total remaining instructions are also be executed. But which block of instructions are not executed in this case? No. Which block of instructions are not executed in this case? No. The block of instructions which are after the exception inside the try block. The block of instructions after the exception inside the try block, they are not going to be executed in this overall flow of execution. Yes, sir. All of you are getting clarity on these points? Can I move forward? Can I go for the next one here? Right, so now before that, I want to give clarity on this point here. This is like what their what object? No, exception object. This object is what their exception object. Okay, leave this one. Next one, put more concentration, all of you know. Coming to this part here, second syntax. What is this case? No exception is raised. Now come for this point here. What I given there? If no exception is raised in the try block, then JVM will skip what block there? Catch block, execution, and JVM will bypass flow of execution to the finally block from the end of the try. Directly from end of the try, it will go to what block there? Finally block here. Understand it now? Now here the point is what? First of all, when we execute this particular instruction, first of all, before try block, all instructions are going to be executed. Before try block, all instructions are executed. Inside the try block, it is executing one by one clearly. One by one, it will execute that. If it identify any exception, this flow of execution will be implemented. If no exception is identified, it executes until the end of the try block. No exception is identified. At the end of the try block, if no exception is available, then flow of execution will be bypassed to what block here? Finally block, by skipping which block here? No, catch block. Now answer for my question, guys. All of you now tell me answer for it. Now tell me, in a try catch finally, when catch block will be executed? When catch block will be executed? If you have an exception inside what? Try block, then only catch block will be executed. Otherwise, catch block will not be executed. Okay, fine. At the end of the try block, flow of execution is coming to what block there? Finally block. Finally block will be executed totally. After this finally block, if any instructions are remaining, that instructions are also be executed inside the program. Now here, in this overall scenario, which block of instructions are not executed? They now tell me catch block instructions are not going to be executed. In this particular flow of execution, catch block instructions are not going to be executed. That's it, sir. Now this is what exactly the flow of execution for what there? Try, catch, finally. Try, catch, finally, flow of execution here I am giving to you clearly. So this is completed. Totally we understood this points. Again, you should not get any doubt on this particular point. Directly I'm talking about try catch finally. Simple point. If you have an exception try block, remaining instructions inside the try block will be skipped. Flow of execution will go to catch block. Catch block will be executed. Next finally block will be executed. Next after the instructions of this try catch finally is also executed. If we are not having any exception inside the try block, total try block will be executed. Catch block will be skipped. Flow of execution will come to what there? Finally block. Finally block will be executed. After the instructions of this finally block also be executed. Can I move forward? Can I go for the next one, girl? I think so. Then everything I complete about this try block. I think you are perfect in try block. Clear? Right, sir. Leave this one. Next one. After this, after completion of this, catch block. Catch block. All right. What is the purpose of this catch block? Understand it. The main purpose of the catch block is to catch the exception. From try block. Is to catch the exception from try block and to provide exception details to the user or maybe to the application, and to provide the exception details to the applications. Observe careful, application. Right, sir? What's the point I'm telling there? The main purpose of the catch block is to catch the exception from the try block and to provide exception details to the application. That's it. Now here I'm giving one more point here. This block will take a set of instructions. This block will take a set of instructions to execute when we have an exception in a try block. If no exception is identified, in the try block, then JVM will not execute catch block. Then JVM will not execute what block here? Catch block. Understand my point clearly? If no exception is identified in the try block, then JVM will not execute catch block. The main purpose of the catch block is to catch the exception from the try block and to provide the exception details to the application. All right, sir. Good. All of you observe carefully. In general, there are three types of exception details. There are three exception details. If you are getting any exception, three details are going to become. What are the three details of this exception? Name of the exception, description of the exception, location of the exception. Observe carefully. In general, exception messages divided into the following three parts. Exception message is divided into the following three parts. What are the three parts here? First one is what there? Exception name. Already you are aware about it. In today core Java class I have given that information. First one is what there? Exception name. Next one is what there? exception description. Next one is what there? Exception location. Okay, fine. That's okay. They are the three exception details now. After that, now we are going to understand in how many ways we are able to display the exception details. What is the purpose of catch block now? Tell me. The main purpose of the catch block is what? Catch the exception from try block and display the exception details to the user. Display the exception details. That's the point here. All right. In how many ways we are able to display the exception details now? There are three ways to provide the exception details. What are the three ways to provide exception details? First one is what there? By using print stack trace method. What is this first one now? Tell me. By using print stack trace method. Next one is by using system.out.println of exception reference. By using what? System.out.println of exception reference. That is internally toString method. By using what there? toString method. Anyone here we can understand. Next one is after that. The third one is what there? By using system.out.println of, by using system or else by using get message method. By using what there? Get message method. That's it. In all the three ways we are able to display exception details. Now tell me, in how many ways we are able to display all the exception details? No, in three ways. What are the three ways of displaying exception details here? First one is what? By using print stack trace method. Second one is what there? By using system.out.println of exception reference. Third one is what there? By using get message. Yes, sir. All of you are getting it or not? We have to understand one by one clearly. All cases here we are going to understand now. Right. First of all, now observe carefully what exactly the points we are discussing there up to now. Throws keyword we have discussed there, but throws keyword is not really an exception handler. Simply to bypass the exception from present method to the caller method to handle. But if you want to handle the exceptions at the location where it was generated, there we have to use what there? Try catch finally. What is the syntax of this try catch finally? Try a set of finish sections, catch, exception name, reference variable, set of finish sections, and finally set of finish sections. Where what is try block here? It will include a set of finish sections which may raise an exception. In general, try block will include developers doubtful code to raise an exception. In Java applications, in a try catch finally, try block may or may not raise an exception. If you have an exception in the try block, then JVM will bypass flow of execution to the catch block by passing the generated exception object references parameter to the catch block, and by skipping all the remaining instructions inside the try block. If no exception is raised in the try block, then JVM will skip the catch block exception execution, and JVM will bypass flow of execution of the final block from the end of the try block. The diagrammatic representations are given about this flow. Catch block are given there. What is the meaning of catch block now? The catch block will take a set of finish sections to execute when we have an exception inside the try block. If no exception is identified in the try block, then JVM will not execute catch block. The main purpose of the catch block is to catch the exception from try block and to provide the exception details to the application. All right. In general, what are the various exception details now? Exception message is divided into three parts. What are the three parts here? Exception name, exception description, and exception location. Next one is there are three ways to provide exception details. What are the three ways to provide exception details now? First one is what? By using print stack trace method. Second one is what? By using system.out.println of exception reference. Third one is what there? By using get message. Now our requirement is what there? Here we have to use exception details. That means by using what there? Print stack trace method. This point here we have to understand. All right, sir. The first one here, what is this now? Print stack trace method. What it will provide the data? It will provide the description. It will provide the description. It will provide the exception description. Exception description that includes exception name, exception description, and the exception location. All details are going to be included inside this print stack trace method. That's it. It will provide the exception description that includes exception description, exception message, That includes exception name, exception description, then what next one here? Exception location. At which location we are getting this exception, all these details here we are able to get. Public void print stack trace method. This is defined inside the exception class. It is available to every exception class. We can access it in every exception class reference variable. Right, so this is one point. Next one is, what about the next one here? By using system.out.println of exception reference. This is another one. Also programmatically, don't worry for it. Now tell me, if we pass, tell me sir, if we pass exception object reference variable as parameter to the system.out.println method, system.out.println method, if we pass exception object reference variable as parameter to the system.out.println method, then JVM will access toString method internally over the provided exception object reference variable. You know already this point. When we pass the reference variable as parameter system.out.println method, internally one method will be executed. What method will be executed there? Come on, what method will be executed there? ToString method will be executed. Got it or not? What is the story behind this ToString method actually? What is the story about this ToString method here? Understand it no? Initially ToString method was defined in the java.lang.object class. Am I right or not? The object class has nearly 11 number of methods, where one of the method is what there? ToString method. Initially, ToString method was defined in the java.lang.object class. It was implemented in such a way. That to return a string that contains class name @ reference value of the object, or maybe reference value, that's enough. So it will return a string that contains class name @ symbol reference value of the object. Yes sir, got my point or not? Later in all the exception classes, object class provided, java.lang.object class provided ToString method was overridden. Later in all the exception classes, java.lang.object class provided ToString method was overridden in such a way that to return a string that contains, all of you observe carefully, that contains the exception details like exception name and the description of the exception. That's it. Please read out this content here. What is the point here I'm telling to you, everybody? First of all, what is the point I'm telling to you? System.out.println of exception reference. If we pass an exception object reference variable as parameter to the system.out.println method, then JVM will access ToString method internally over the provided exception object reference variable. It's a normal concept. But what is the story behind this ToString method? From where this ToString method is coming there actually? For that I'm giving information. Initially, what method no? ToString method was defined in which class no? Java.lang.object class. You know already the importance of this object class. Object class is a common and default superclass for every Java class. Got my point or not? Object class is what there? Common and default superclass for every Java class. Okay. Why sir? Why it is a common and default superclass for every Java class? What is the requirement of it? Yeah, you have to understand that point also. Now, why it is a superclass for every class? Why Java has provided that superclass for every class? Simple example, understand it now. Of course, you are already aware about it, but once again, I'm telling you now. For a human being to survive in universe, what is required minimum? oxygen, chicken biryani. Huh? Don't say this symbolic no. Then I may think about different way. What you are thinking that this one no? Water no? Your water, right? Your level, right? Fine. Anyway, observe carefully. Oxygen is required, water is required, food is required. Got it or not? These are minimal things to survive in the universe. Am I right or not? Got it or not? Just imagine it. If these minimum resources are not available, how can we survive in universe and outside? For everybody, for every human being, these are required or not? For everybody, these are minimum to survival. Am I right or not? Of course, even though you're having 1,000 crores, even though you're some of chief minister, but minimal resources are required. Minimal oxygen is required mainly. Food is required. Water is required. Then only we can survive in the outside. Got it or not? This is a point. But who are providing? Who is providing all these minimal resources for us? Who is providing for us? No. Think of it. Nature is providing. Yes, sir. Got it? Nature is providing. What is that nature actually? In a different terms, I'm talking there. What is this nature? Nature is a God. Don't ask me which God. No. God is God only. In my point of view, no separation about the God. God is single. That you can take in any form. That doesn't matter. God is single. Nature is a real God. Yeah, I'm giving one point here. Even people are fighting in outside there for the sake of peace only. That already given logic. Every religion is giving the final thought is what there peaceful only, peace only. But for the sake of getting that peace, only these caste related people are fighting each other. Leave it now. For example, if we take Jesus, for example, Jesus also we must require oxygen or not? Remember it. Next one is Rama, for example, required oxygen or not? Whoever it may be. Next one is what there? Muhammad, right? For example, required what there? Oxygen. But who is providing oxygen for these people actually? So who is the final God? Nature is the final God. Don't go for categorizations here. God is single God. That's it. Remove all these remaining subclasses now. Only super class. What is the super class there? God. That's it. Only God. God is providing all the resources. Now, God in the sense what there? Nature. Nature is providing what there? All the resources for us. Got it or not? Similarly, listen, all of you know. Similarly, in Java, to make any class to survive in Java environment, that a class required minimal resources. Like oxygen is required for the class, water is required for the class, food is required for the class. But who are providing these minimal resources to this class? No, there also be one nature. One nature is required. That's the final God is required. That final God, that nature is what their object class. Get my point or not? Object class. Object class is providing all the survival resources to every Java class. How it is providing that resources to every Java class? No, understand the point here. What I'm telling you now. To survive any class in Java environment, that a class must require nearly 11 number of methods. 11 number of methods are minimum for each and every class to survive in Java environment. What are these 11 number of methods? No, two string methods. We are talking now. Two string method, hash code method, equals method, get class method, clone method, three wait methods, notify all methods, finalize methods. These are all like what there 11 number of methods which are required minimum in every Java class. Without these methods, no Java class is available in outside. Yes, I got it or not? So if it is the case, no, every time what developers have to do, developers have to declare a class employee, there they have to provide minimum this 11 number of methods. Class customer, we have to write minimum this 11 number of methods. Class product, 11 number of methods you have to write. But every time we have to write same 11 number of methods or not. That's why what Java has given there, Java made one common and default superclass for every Java class. Java declared all these 11 number of methods in where there in the common and default superclass. That is a common and default superclass. Automatically its methods are available to every Java class. Object class methods are available to every Java class. We are not seeing that every day, but internally object class is providing this 11 number of methods to the every Java class now. Because of that reason only, object class is a god for every class inside the Java. Object class is a common and default superclass which provides 11 number of methods minimum to each and every Java class. All right, for example, if I ask a question to you now, For example, I have written class employee. Class employee. If I ask a question to you, how many methods are available inside this class employee? Most of the people are saying that no method is available there. Why? Because we have not written any method. It's a wrong statement. How many methods are available? No, 11 methods are available. Why, sir? How we are getting 11 number of methods? No, this employee class is extended from what there? Object class internally. It is a subclass for what there? Object class. But we have not written object class. No. But I'll ask one more question to you. Who is your parent? X. Who is your parent to your parent? Like this, if I ask 100 times, what is your answer? Tell me, yeah. I'm asking 100 times the same question. Parent to parent, parent to parent. If I ask no, finally we have to say, you are the God's son or not? Yeah. Finally, we are what there? We are God's son or not? Means that God is your final parent or not? Same way, take employee class, but employee class is not having any superclass by default directly, but by default it is a son to what? God. God is what? Objective class. That's it. Not more than that. Java is not any other one. Java is your life only. But you have to think in proper way. Come for it. Tell me what I'm telling there. ToString method. Listen carefully. Deviated already. Listen carefully. ToString method is a survival method for any Java class or not? That is minimum available in each and every class or not? Got it or not? That is required in each and every class or not? Got it or not? Okay, but in some situations, what happened there? For example, God has given water to us, natural water to us. But nowadays, what we are doing, sir? We are taking mineral water or not? We are taking mineral water or not? Why, sir? Why you are taking mineral water? No. In hostels also, we are specifying 24/7 only mineral water. What is there? Why? Outside water is polluted water is coming. God has given good water only, but we are polluted, we are unable to drink it, so we want to change that water, right? Got my point or not? Similarly, object class has a provided ToString method with one implementation. What is that implementation there? Which returns a string that contains class name, @ return value, that means reference of the object. In that way, object class has given ToString method, but my exception class is not required that implementation. Exception class wants to have its own implementation. What is its own implementation there? Instead of returning reference value of an object, I want to return exception details. Instead of returning reference value of the object, I want to return exception details. I don't require predefined implementation of what? Object class provided ToString method. I want to have my own implementation. Why? Because object class provided ToString method implementation I don't require. That is not suitable for my requirement. So I want to change the implementation of the object class provided ToString method. That's why we are overriding object class provided ToString method inside the exception class. In which way it was overridden? That object class provided ToString method was implemented in such a way, was overridden in such a way to return a string that contains what there? Exception details. That contains what details there? Exception details. But object class ToString method is returning what? Class name, @ reference value. Exception class ToString method is returning what? String contains exception details. Sir, all of you get my point or not? God has given natural water, but we don't like that natural water. We are using what there? We are overriding that functionality. We are using what there? Mineral water. Am I right or not? Similarly, object class has provided ToString method with one implementation. That implementation returns a string. That string contains a class name, @ reference value. But all my exception classes don't require object class provided ToString method. All my exception classes are overriding object class ToString method in such a way to return a string. That a string contains the exception details like name of the exception and a description of the exception only. That's it. Even I don't require location of the exception. Observe carefully what I provided here. Alright, sir. Now initially ToString method was defined in the java.lang.object class. It was implemented in such a way that to return a string that contains class name, @ reference value. Later in all the exception classes, object class java.lang.object class provided ToString method was overridden. in such a way that to return a string that contains the exception details like name of the exception and description of the exception. Is that clear or not? Okay, programmatically I'm able to show these points here. No need to worry for it. All right. After this, what next method here? Now tell me. Up to now, in two approaches we completed. One is print stack trace method is completed. Next one is what there? System.out.println is completed. Then what next one can now tell me? Get message method. Get message method. Observe carefully. Get message method. Another one is what there? Get message method. What it is providing there? Okay. Then before that, I want to say public string to string. Yeah, this method prototype also I am providing it. Now get the next one is what there? Get message method. This method is able to return a string, that contains only the exception description. Get message method is able to return only what their exception description. Right, understand it now? The prototype of this particular method, public string get a message method. It will return only description of the exception, exception name, exception description, exception location. Three things are available. Out of all the three things, only exception description here we are able to get from this particular method. Okay, now let's see an example here. By that you are able to get much clarity. All of you understand this? First of all, here what I am telling to you, understand it now. I need to take try catch finally. Try and catch here we are getting there. Okay, now here we are getting finally, but of course I'm not going to write anything inside the finally. First of all, let me explain that finally block also. After that I will give the syntax of try catch finally and its examples. All right, first of all, inside the try block I want to raise an exception. What exception here I want to raise here? Observe carefully. Say for example, int I is equal to 100, int j is equal to 0. Now float f is equal to I divided by j. For example, a number is divided by 0, and what exception we are able to get now? Arithmetic exception here we are able to get. Now here I want to use like what there? Arithmetic exception here we are using inside the catch block. Now inside the catch block I want to display exception details with all the three approaches. In all the three approaches I want to display that. Now observe carefully. Sys.out.println of key. Sys.out.println one line space. After that sys.out.println, sorry, now before using this, what I want to provide there, e dot print stack trace method, one line space. Then after that sys.out.println of key. Next one is what there, another line space here I'm providing. After that sys.out.println of e dot get a message method. Get a message method. Now tell me, inside the catch block I'm trying to display all the exception messages in all three approaches or not? All right, so now let's see this one. First one is what there, print stack trace, line space. Next one is what there, to string method internally, line space, get message. Now let me execute this program. This exception message we are getting because of what? Print stack trace method. This message we are getting because of what there? Sys.out.println of e. This one we are getting because of what there? E dot get message method. Now observe carefully. In a print stack trace method, what details here we are getting? Name of the exception, description of the exception, location of the exception. All right, when we come for this particular instruction, what we are getting there? Name of the exception and a description of the exception. In the last case, what we are getting there? Only we are getting what there? Description of the exception. That's very clear. Got it or not? Okay, fine. Now let's see this one here. This is a program here I'm telling to you. Now example code here I provided. Now exception details also here I'm going to provide. Try to understand it clearly. All of you understand one point, sir. I'm going to take one simple comparison, but we don't know exactly the same thing is going to be happen in the real-time application development or not as a doubtful, but I want to give some comparison, try to understand it. But same thing is going to be happen, not going to be happen, but there is no guarantee, but a simple comparison here I'm telling to you. Sir, got it or not? Now see, listen carefully. For example, I am the developer now, Java developer. I'm doing one project. I thought of it, I completed a simple part of the program, simple part of the module. project. In a simple part of the project, I completed some part here. I want to test it. In my local machine, I want to test it. When I test it, if I get an exception, being the Java developer, what exception details I require? Java developer, myself, I should take the responsibility of correcting that exception, correcting the code. So I should get what details of this exception, name of the exception is required, description of the exception is required. Being the Java developer, what I required now? Location of the exception is also required for me or not? To go to that location to modify our code. So for the developers level, which statement is required to display that exception details? No, what statement is suggestible to display the exception details? No, print stack trace method is suggestible or not? When the application is development, when the project is in development, print stack trace method is suggestible or not? Just comparison I'm telling there. May not apply the as is in our real-time application development, but comparison I'm telling you. Being the developer, I need exception details like name of the exception, description of the exception, and the location of the exception to correct that exception in my code. When I'm executing my program, if I get an exception, these details are required. Being the Java developer, leave it. For example, development part is completed. The code was moved to the testing QA. Now think of it, myself is a tester. Myself is what? The tester. What knowledge I'm having now? How to test the code only I can understand, but I don't know how to develop the code. I said, am I right or not? Myself is what there now, tester, not a Java developer. I know how to test the code, but I don't know how to develop the code. Even how to correct the exceptions also I don't know. So what I have to do there in general, when code is available to me as a tester, I have to run the test cases. When I run the test cases, if I find any bug there in my program, in my application, what I have to do, I need to prepare a test case now. I have to prepare some total test case there. I have to send back the test case to the developer or not. Again, developer has to open the code. Developer has to identify the location where that problem is available. He has to correct that problem or not by executing that code again. But being the tester, what exception details I am expecting from my code, what exception details I required. I required only name of the exception and description of the exception. I don't require what their location of the exception. For the tester, what exception details I am expecting there? Only name of the exception and a description of the exception. I don't require what? Location of the exception. Even if I get location of the exception, what I can do? If I get the location of exception, do you think about it? I'll go to that location, I'm going to correct some code. I'm not going to test the code here internally. Just I have to test the code. I have to send that coding part to the developer. This is the problem I got there. Please correct it. So being the tester, what exactly the exception details are required? Name of the exception and description of the exception. I don't require what? Location of the exception. So at a tester level, what any section is suggestible? System.out.println of A. At a testing level, what any section is suggestible there? System.out.println of A. Got it or not? Okay. Next one. Put more concentration. This is somewhat difficult to understand. Development is completed. Testing is also completed. Of course, almost all 100 times the code is moved in between tester and developer, and finally certificate was provided. QA certificate was provided. Tested successfully. The code is good. Then what next one? After testing that code, what next one? We have to move that code for the production or not? Production or not? Production in the sense maybe so many activities are available inside the production, but simple point, what I'm telling to you, that I'm going to send that code to the client. Client will keep that code in the live. Live in the sense to the public, providing that support service toward their public. Public will use that code. Public will use that application. Am I right or not? Just think a minute about it. This is ATM software application. What is that application there? ATM software application. Development is completed. Testing is completed. Next, we installed that application in the ATM machine. Now that application is running in the ATM machine. Public is using that ATM machine. Users are using that ATM software. Okay, one of the user went to the ATM center. He is 5 his spot. It is asking the details. What details there? Specify the language first. English is specified there. Next one is what there immediately. Enter the PIN number. He entered PIN number. Next one is what there. Menu is displayed there. In the right side, second option always that is our favorite option. Tell me here. In the right side menu, second option is what? Withdraw operation here. That's very nice. Withdraw. Okay, we selected it. After selecting that withdraw, it is asking. Of course, account type is also it is asking there in the middle. We have entered that savings. withdraw option we selected there. Now it is asking that amount to withdraw, how much amount you want to withdraw. Now here we are specifying what there, 20,000. Okay, over the 10,000. Okay, whatever it may be, valid amount I provided. Finish. I got money. I have taken that money from the ATM machine. Then after that, what is required now? Tell me what details here we are able to get. For example, listen carefully. For example, I provided 20,000 over the 10,000 amount in my account. Exceptional situation or not? That situation is what there? Exceptional situation. Insufficient funds exception. What we are getting there? Insufficient funds exception we are getting internally. Whenever we are specified, when we specify 20,000 among the 10,000 amount in our account, what my ATM software is displaying the message? No, just simply it is providing the message like insufficient funds in our account. Only that message or not? Just imagine 1 minute. Imagine if we use print stack trace method inside our ATM software to display that exception details, what it will display? Exception in thread main com dot durgasoft dot ICICI dot transactions dot withdraw dot tester insufficient funds in our account at the location tester dot java colon 2,55,345th line. If the entire message is displayed on ATM screen, what you are going to think about it? Basically, you are not Java developer, Java person. You are like what there? Unknown user, might be the innocent user. What you are able to understand by seeing that message? No, immediately you may thought of it might be this ATM machine is getting virus or not. Are some different information. Who required the total details? No. If you are the developer, if you are getting the details, no, it's okay. There is a meaning for it. But the customer, how can understand? How customer can understand this entire message? No. Okay, leave it. Second option, if we take no system.out.println of e, if we use internally, system.out.println of e, if we use internally, what it has to display there? Exception in thread main com dot durgasoft dot ICICI dot transactions dot withdraw dot test colon. What next one there? Insufficient funds in our account. That's it. Only these two messages. No. Again, what is this com dot durgasoft dot ICICI? No. Then that user might be thought of it. Okay, might be the student of Durgasoft is prepared this entire software. No, I'll not trust this software. No, you may get some doubt or not when he saw this entire message. Again, the customer is not feeling good by seeing that message. No, customer required message is what? Now tell me what message that customer is required now to understand the situation. Just simply he required only what? Insufficient funds in our account. That is what their description of the exception or not? Come on, that is what their description of the exception or not? How we are going to get description of the exception in our try catch finally? By using which mechanism we are able to get it? No, by using what? By using e dot get message method. Am I right or not? Now tell me, what is the status of our project actually? Is it in development mode? Is it in testing mode? No, it is in what mode? Production mode. It is at client home or not? Production mode. Whenever the project is in production mode, when the project is in production mode, which line is suggestible to display that exception details? No, only system.out.println of e dot get message method. Get message method is suggestible for the project which is in which mode? Production mode. Now tell me, all of you now tell me, when the project is in development mode, what is suggestible? Print stack trace method. When the project in testing mode, what is suggestible? System.out.println of when the project is in production mode, what is suggestible? System.out.println of e dot get message method. But I'm telling to you clearly, this is only assumption, this is only comparison purpose only. But as it is going to be used in the real-time application development or not? No, maybe no guarantee for it, but suggestions, suggestible concepts only. Here we are understanding clearly. Yes, sir, got it or not? All right, sir, it's okay. Up to catch block we completed in a try catch finally. The still finally block is remaining. Small 1 or 2 examples are remaining. By that you are able to complete this total try catch finally. If I complete this, then we will start what their dynamic input approaches. Okay, that we are going to understand in the next class. For advanced Java, when will be the next class? No, on Monday, not on tomorrow. Tomorrow is totally core Java class only. On Monday, continuation of this content I am going to discuss with you clearly. Right? Thank you. Thanks a lot. We'll meet on Monday. And one more thing, last awareness. Tomorrow, what is the schedule there? 7 to 1 core Java exception handling workshop link I am going to use. Depends on the requirement you can attend. Thank you. ఆల్రెడీ మీ దగ్గర ఉంది కదా అది, నేను పంపిస్తాను మళ్ళీ పర్లేదు. Class, how many classes are there for core Java? Maybe just 2 to 3 topics only I'm going to use it. That's it. 2 to 3 topics maybe are remaining there in core Java. Then after that I will start advanced Java. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you guys. Thanks a lot. Guys, it's okay, fine. Then max and Monday onwards, the link is going to be changed, guys. Then if you are not yet registered, please register immediately. The link is going to be changed maximum from Monday onwards. Now try to check for it. Yeah. Then those who are already registered, those who are in packages now. All right, son. Just you can our admin people will send that link details to you so that you can plan for it. All right, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah, for the package people, for the already registered people, you are able to get your link details through mail, so you can utilize this, Max. Thank you.